All right, love it. Let's get some more insight. I got to spruce the place up. Let's get a Hall of Famer in here, the U.S. Basketball Writers Hall of Famer, sporting news columnist. Proud to say he still returns my text message, email, and call even 20 plus years later that we've been doing all of this.
20.
20 plus?
Try
We
30.
might be 30 at this point. When you were like on the Memphis beat, and I
Yes.
was a fledgling broadcaster doing the University of South Florida, and I don't even think we had cell phones. We had email back in that day. Hello, Mike DeCourcy. Good to have you back aboard on college basketball coast to coast, my friend.
Oh, it's great to see you, TJ.
Love it. So much to discuss. Let's hone in on a couple of things. Am I crazy? Probably not. Is it too easy? Is it the easy way out to look at the top teams, not unlike a year ago when four number one seeds for the second time since the field expanded to 64, now 68, four one seeds made the Final Four last year. We know this. Am I crazy to look at Michigan, Arizona, and Duke in particular? And then you can maybe put Florida or UConn as the swing number one seed, maybe somebody else that you like. But am I crazy to look at those first three and say, are we looking at these teams in Indianapolis when it's all said and done again with how good they look? Or would you like to, as the sage that you are, would you like to say, hold on, hold up, there is a tournament to play? Go ahead.
I think the top of the field is, especially the twos and some of the threes are pretty strong. So I do think that you could make a case in advance of the tournament that there might be some vulnerability in Michigan, for instance, or possibly Duke, but it would take an extraordinary team to beat Duke. And I only see one or two likely to do that in a projected region for them. So I think that there is some validity to believing that the teams at the top are really powerful and special. But I do think, although it's not as powerful at the top as it was a month ago, because we had the injury to Richie Saunders at BYU, which has clearly diminished the Cougars, or the injury to JT Toppin at Texas Tech, which they fought off reasonably well. But still, you're not the same as a guy who can get
Sure.
20 without even breaking a sweat. You're just not as good. And so the teams at the top are still there's still a lot there, but not as much as there was 30 days ago.
All right, so stay tuned. This is, again, I said it, why you have a tournament and upsets can happen, but I see it highly unlikely that we won't have those three in Indianapolis just because they're going to be significantly favored in their first three games, maybe not in the Elite Eight game. And we've seen how well they've done away from home. All three of them, Duke, Michigan, Arizona, have repeatedly demonstrated away from home they can win. And that's all the, just to follow it up, that's all this time of the year is about now. Conference tournament and the NCAA tournament games are not home games on your home floor.
Well, let me tell you what I see when I look at, in particular, Michigan and Duke. Duke still is operating without a true point guard. And Caleb Foster's done a really nice job, and they mix in the younger Boozer twin to get some real point guard type play from time to time. But Caden is not quite there yet. If he were, he'd probably have the job, and not because Caleb Foster's not a fantastic college basketball player. I love him, but he's still forcing it at point guard. He's really a two guard, big guy, really nice compact shooter, great defender, and he makes them elite at the defensive end with his on-ball defense. He's very good. But that last couple of seconds, you need to generate a hoop. You're having to go through your power forward, and you can double him. And yeah, he's unbelievable as a passer. But what if on that one occasion he can't quite see the target? And that's their vulnerability. In Michigan's case, losing LJ Kaysen to injury, not as obviously devastating as losing JT Toppin at Texas Tech, but still under the radar, a very big part of why Michigan was special. Because my question going into the year was, did Michigan have a championship point guard? And Elliot Cadeau has played like a championship point guard most of the time, but not all the time.
Right.
And you have to be all the time if you're going to win it. And so maybe once they get to March Madness, it's all the time. And then you don't have to worry about it. But when you had Kaysen, you didn't ever have to worry because if it wasn't going, okay, go to plan B and it worked. So those are the vulnerabilities for them. And that's why I could see not getting all four, not getting three of the four. But I
Understood.
certainly understand why anyone would look at those two teams and say, watch out, because they're both
Yeah.
terrific.
And they've been tested in Arizona the same way with kind of interchangeable parts, and they've overcome a couple of late season injuries and slight setbacks, etc. So if I say to you in the range of the 2 seed through the 4 seed, and obviously your forte is the Big Ten and working with the Big Ten network and their coverage. You'll be back on Sunday in pregame mode and Sunday night recap mode. You'll find him on the Big Ten network, Mike DeCourcy. Give me a couple of teams, maybe a Big Ten team, 2 through 4 range that you would say second seed, third seed, fourth seed. Watch out for this team and why. What would you say?
Well, I'm not going to cheat and say Florida because one, they
Right.
could still end up as a one,
Correct.
and really, if they don't, they're a 1A.
And
And I,
UConn
and
is
I,
the same argument. And UConn's the same argument. So we'll
yeah, I
exclude
hope they're
both of them.
treated as a 1A. I hope
Yeah.
that if we get to where, like, if it's a week from now, 10 days from now, it's exactly the same in terms of their body of work. Let's say they both finish the regular season without losing, they both win their weekend games, and then go through the conference tournament and both win. To me, it's 1 and 1A, and send them both to Houston and let them figure it out from there, whichever order you want, really.
Right.
But don't mix and match. Don't say, okay, Florida's the two, so they go to Chicago. No, if it's what I described, it better be 1 and 1A. So let's go beyond that. And I will say, first, I'll go look at Illinois, a team that is extremely talented, has great front court depth, has a point guard, a freshman point guard in Keaton Wagler, who is a game changer, who can get you those buckets that I was talking about that you might not get from Duke. You run a pick and roll with him, and how do you cover it? Well, if you drop, he's sticking a three in your eye. If you hedge, he's finding a way around it. And so those kinds of things he can do. So they've got that. They've got unbelievable depth up front, multiple 7-footers. And what they don't have right now is rhythm because they were missing Kylan Boswell, starting shooting guard, best perimeter defender for almost a month. And they lost the rhythm. And now they got to get it back. And so that's their challenge at this point. I look at Houston, a team that's still searching for its offensive identity. Pretty good offensive identity. Hey, Kingston, go get us a hoop. Kingston Flemings is fantastic.
Yep.
And having that as a skill is great. Like I said before, going back to Foster, coming to Keaton Wagler. He's better at that than either of those two guys. But they don't have a lot beyond that right now. Both Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak are, I mean, I didn't even know about Flemings as an elite recruit, and I knew about Sinak. I watched him in the Hoop Summit, and he's been much better than I thought he'd be at this stage. And yet they've regressed a little bit offensively because they're not getting as much from their veterans, from their Final Four veterans, as they need. And they got to get back to that. But if they do, then they become really dangerous. So those are the teams that I would look at. And that's not to exclude anybody. It's just those are the ones that catch my eye.
Love Mike DeCourcy's insight here with me on college basketball coast to coast heading into this weekend. We should mention from a bubble standpoint in the Big Ten, Indiana, Ohio State on Saturday.
Yes.
And then might we be getting it 3 times? We definitely are getting it twice. Michigan, Michigan State Sunday. A lot of people are wondering, is that the championship game in Chicago when it's all said and done for the Big Ten? So that'll be fascinating to watch. One at one end of the Big Ten, fighting, clawing to maybe get in the NCAA tournament, and the other one, two behemoths, rivals, and Michigan already won the game in East Lansing.
Right.
So that's a
Right.
lot. That's a lot to be interested in this weekend, just real quick as well, right?
Absolutely. There's some fantastic games in the Big Ten. That Indiana Ohio State game. It's not an elimination game. There are no. I have a friend in the business who says there are no elimination games. I've been watching these games too much. I've seen it happen too many times. I think they are. I think there are.
Yes.
But I don't think any of them exist outside of the conference tournaments. Sometimes they develop inside the conference tournaments where you know that one of those teams has to win. Both of them would have to win it. And then maybe the team that wins it needs to still do more,
Right.
but the team that loses it, they're not making it.
They know they're out.
And so Indiana, if this game were in Chicago in 5 days, then yeah, it'd be an elimination game with the current circumstance. But if Indiana wins, I don't think that necessarily knocks out Ohio State. I think Indiana would probably advance past New Mexico. Somebody's looking for a reason to advance past New Mexico after what they did against Colorado State at home earlier in the week. So that spot's basically available. Now, New Mexico could reinforce its case by beating San Diego State, but they really opened the door for everybody. So it could be Indiana. If Indiana loses, however, I'm not saying they're out. Like I said, no elimination because there's still a conference tournament to play. But it would make their road very difficult. They would have to accomplish significant success in Chicago in order to make it
Agreed.
back to the field.
And especially the committee, we've done this so many times, so many years. The committee says this consistently over and over again. How did you do against the best teams on your schedule? How did you do when you had opportunities at the end to solidify yourself? All right, they lost in LA to USC, who's not in the tournament. They lost to Illinois, who's good. They lost to Michigan State, who's good. Now you got a borderline game with Ohio State and you didn't win that. They can come right back and say, look at all of those opportunities you had, and you
Right.
didn't win a couple of them. You didn't win any of them.
Right.
And there are reasons to exclude you if that's the
Yeah,
case.
you know,
So,
I think the committee looks at the whole body of work, but I do believe that when you get down to here, they
mm-hmm,
are kind of looking for reasons to like give us a reason to take you, and if you don't, you're giving us a reason to leave you out.
correct.
I think that there's a mentality like that. The New Mexico game against Colorado State was a definitive. You're giving us a reason to leave you out,
That's
and
right.
when I went down and I looked at it and I tried to pick through the other teams, I just couldn't find anybody who was demonstrably superior to them. And I thought the weekend's going to sort this. Okay, they're going to play San Diego State, huge game. If they win it, maybe they're more solidified. But other teams that are in that bubble range, and Indiana would be one. Auburn goes to Alabama. That's a huge game. Auburn is a team that currently is 2 games over 500.
That's right.
And a lot of people have them in their field because their metrics are strong. They have some solid wins, but I don't have them in my field now because I know the history. A lot of the people who have them in know the history too. But in my mind, that their 2 games over 500 has only happened twice in more than 40 years. Villanova in 91 and Georgia '01. Only teams that ever made it at 2 games over. So I'm not putting you in at 2 games over in any hurry. So if they were one earlier in the week. Now it's two because they won a game, Mississippi State, maybe, I think,
Yes.
earlier in the week. And so they got back to two. If they beat Auburn, they're at three, and it guarantees that they're no worse than two. And then maybe I think at that point I'll probably put him back in. So again, that there are spots open at the edge of the
But
field.
here again with Auburn, at the end of the year, you have an awful loss at Oklahoma. You have an awful loss at home to Ole Miss. Those are large. And then you had
Yes.
a second chance late in the year to win a significant game, this one with Alabama, where again the committee looks at you and says, you had chances right here on the line. You had chances. Did you win your way in or did you lose your way out?
Yeah,
Stay
if there
tuned.
were one over going into the conference tournament,
Hmm.
they could finish 500,
Yes, and
and
then it's
they're not
obviously over.
taking
It's
500.
obviously over. Okay, Miami of Ohio. You and I kind of were going back and forth a
Oh,
little bit on
yes, we
social media.
were.
I
I
love
thought
it.
there'd be blood flying through
No, no,
Twitter.
no, no. Please. It's not to that extent. We're not jousting with plastic silverware. However, we are now at the end of something that hasn't happened that often. We are looking at the fourth possible D1 program to get to the finish line undefeated at the end of a regular season since 2014. Wichita State 2014, Kentucky the next year 2015, Gonzaga 2021. So at the time you and I are doing this and releasing this on Friday, we do not know the result of the Ohio game. We do not. Okay, so I'll pose the hypothetical. If they have won that game and now head to Cleveland and the MAC tournament, they finished off the regular season undefeated. How much does that bolster them in your mind that they got there? We've been debating for 2 weeks. Can they get there? They beat Ohio. They will have gotten there, headed to Cleveland. How much does it bolster Miami that they've gotten there?
Yeah, there's no debate if they win this, if they win the Ohio game. It's over. It's just a question of where do they get seated. And their seating will be more impacted by their conference tournament than almost anyone's. And again, we're talking about this scenario as an undefeated team, an undefeated regular season team. Their seeding will be significantly altered by that because if they become an at-large team, they'll have had to take a loss, and there will be impetus to take into account all of the facts that, look, I'm not disputing relative to their predictive metrics rankings are not strong. The list of opposition was not overwhelming. They'll have presumably lost in the conference tournament to either Kent State or Akron, which you have then failed in, although you've beaten each of them, you have then failed in an opportunity to gain another relative quality win. And so that will impact them, but they will still be in the field. It'll just be like I have had them in my brackets for basically a month as a single digit seed. And I am one of the only people who does this either professionally or as a hobby. And let me tell you, the people who don't do it as a hobby are great at it and do a wonderful job. And so I totally respect them. But most of the group, and we're talking about 110 right now.
Right.
Usually by the
Right.
end of it, there's about 200, but the ones who update fairly regularly, it's about 110. And out of that group, only 8 or 9 have been listing Miami as a single digit seed. Remember, I am presuming that the time I do the bracket is Selection Sunday, which means that team doesn't have any losses. And I've looked at it. I mean, we're not talking about an 8-0 team, right? We're talking about a team that at the time I started listing them as an 8 seed, they had already gotten to 20, 22, whatever it was. And so that's a significant number. And if they don't get to Selection Sunday undefeated, their seed will change by multiple lines for me. I don't know that the others will change as much because I suspect most of them will keep them in and probably leave them on the
We're
in 11
back.
range.
We're back to jousting with the plastic silverware. I did not realize in your most recent bracket projections that you do on social media for foxsports.com that you had them as a single digit seed. My friend, they're not getting a single digit seed.
I'm telling you, if they are
They're
33 and 0,
well,
34 and
33 and
0,
0 would maybe be an argument to be like a 10. So
34 and
10
0, they're going to
versus
be in an
9
8-9 game.
is right
That's my
there.
belief.
10 and 9 is right there. But if they have, especially if they have a loss, they're absolutely
Oh
going to
yeah,
be
no, if they have a loss, I
12.
will move them.
Yeah, I got you.
Probably I would suspect, and it depends on when. The final regular season game would be a significant loss for them.
Correct, because Ohio's beyond 200 in the
Yeah,
net. It's a
so
it's a
that's
bad
one
loss.
that even though the circumstance will not be a typical uh, 50 versus 200 game because they're rivals.
Hmm.
Ohio has all they have left, other than their sort of take a lottery chance at winning the MAC tournament. All they have left is to ruin Miami's perfect year, and they're going to put everything into that. It's
Sure.
not going to be easy.
We once again say you and I don't know that result. Maybe Miami rolled again in their last 7 games. Miami has had 4 games decided by 4 points or less. So the likelihood is they don't roll on the road. It may be close. It may be a nail biter, but if you're listening to us on Saturday, you already know what happened or didn't happen. Stay tuned. Hey, just one more because of the overarching part of this. And I totally get this argument. I'm on board with this argument. If you're going to put them in the field at large with a 330 strength of schedule, you now have given the green light to everybody at the mid-major level. Do what Miami did, which is don't play anybody in the pre-conference and do your best to win them all in your
Okay, good
conference.
luck with that.
Good
And
luck with
maybe
that.
you'll
Yes.
be one of the 5 teams in 25 years that does it.
Yeah. But
It's not a plan.
it's not,
It's just a
yes.
circumstance.
But you will have given the green light. You can see that. You will have
Look,
given the green light.
they're
That
already struggling to schedule. And when I say that, I am not giving credence to the idea that okay, that's like saying like a young man saying I called up every supermodel and they wouldn't go with me to the prom. I mean, like if you look at this bracket that I have now, and you look at the teams at the edge, the ones that are fighting to get those last at large, Santa Clara.
Mhm.
Look at who they played. They
Hmm.
played other strong mid-majors in addition to their conference. New Mexico, same thing. VCU, same thing. Gosh, Miami's coach, Travis Steele, who's doing an amazing job, his brother, John Gross, is the head coach at Akron. And so he doesn't have to look outside his family to find a coach who has gone out and challenged his program by playing other strong
Yeah,
mid-majors. I've said this for 20 years, TJ. If you can't get the high majors to play you, play the other strong mid-majors. And if you say, well, gosh, I don't know which ones will be strong, you don't know whether the high majors are going to be strong
that's right.
either. You might know Kentucky's going to be good and Duke's going to be good, but they can't play everybody.
Right, right,
If
right.
you say I'll go play Georgia Tech, that's a big time program. I'll go play them. How'd that work out for you? I mean, they won two ACC games this year. It if you are a high powered mid major and you believe you've got a legit team, try to get on the schedule of other high-powered mid-majors. That's the workaround
That's
that
right.
none of the other mid-majors want to do. And you want to know why? Because they look at it in the same light as the high majors do. There's a lot to lose if I lose that game. And that's probably not worth it to me, so I'll just go play a D2. I mean, that's the reality of scheduling at all levels. They look more at what can be lost than what can be gained, and that's why you have these circumstances.
Stay tuned on what Miami does or doesn't do to get in. I continue to maintain, I think you agree. Well, you believe they're already in. I won't speak for you on that.
Well,
If they
they,
lose to Ohio and they lose before the championship game at the MAC, they are definitely out. They are
I don't know that they're
1000% out.
definitely out
Those
because I
human
have to
beings
see the
will have the
data, but they
reason.
will
Yeah.
sweat bullets.
Yes.
If they
Yes.
if they if they get to Cleveland undefeated,
Yep.
they're in.
You're there
If
in
but
for
but
you.
don't lose in the quarterfinals and test it.
Yeah.
You
I love
know,
it.
because
This
here's the thing that the with the MAC the way it's broken down this year, uh, Akron's fantastic. Kent is very good. But after that, it's just you're
goes
kind of
off the
okay.
cliff. Yeah, it kind of goes
At
off the
best,
cliff.
you're up kind of okay, and then it really falls off. And so in the quarters, you're losing to a not good team. In the semis, you're losing to an okay team because remember, Kent and Akron are going to be on the opposite side of the bracket. So your only time facing a legit high level team is in the final.
Sure. Stay tuned on what they can do. And again, you may be listening to us. We've released this on Friday, Mike and I, with the show. You may be listeners going, what are these guys talking about? They destroyed Ohio. They won the game. They're in. They're undefeated. We don't know that while we're having the debate. And I keep saying this, and you love it, and you know, be your own committee. Win the conference tournament, and none of it matters because you have the
Yes.
automatic bid. If you're
Yes.
truly the best team, just go do that, and you're in. Stay tuned on whether they can do it. Listen, I look forward to much more with you in March, including at the Final Four in Indianapolis. We keep reading you in the sporting news. We keep reading you with the bracket projections all weekend, all next week. FoxSports.com. You'll see Mike DeCourcy's bracket projections. Thank you. I love it. Let's do it again. Thank you, Mike DeCourcy.
You bet, TJ. Always a pleasure.
And we thank you for being with us on college basketball coast to coast.